Hello everyone, my name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher turned homeschool mom. This is Raising A to Z. It is a place where we talk all things homeschooling, and today we're going to talk about what kinds of records and lists I keep while homeschooling my kids. So, record keeping and lists, those are like something that we get a lot of questions about because people are curious about what they need to keep records on. What do records need to look like? And that is very dependent on where you live, first off. Some places have special forms or reporting that you need to do depending on where you live. Sometimes they have a specific type of records that you need to keep or things that you need to track. For example, the number of days that you do academic work. Other places, like where I live, we don't have to keep records. We can literally not keep any records and we would be just fine. So when it comes to keeping records, first off, you do need to make sure that you are following whatever are the requirements for record keeping in your area, your province, your state, whatever it is. Every province and every state has different requirements. So make sure that you are doing whatever you need to do legally so that you can homeschool your kids within the confines of the rules and the laws in your area. That's the first and foremost thing. But if you live in a place like I do, which is Ontario, we don't have any record keeping regulations. We don't have any regulations actually. So what kind of records do I keep? Do I even keep records? I get this question a lot, especially from people in Ontario or other places similar. Do we need to keep records? I do keep records. Yes, but it is not so much for like legal purposes. I keep records more so just to keep my own sanity, if that makes sense. So there are a couple different kinds of records or lists, things that I keep track of over the years. And that's just what I keep track of because it does help me just stay on top of what I have in my head, what we've done in the past, things like that. So here are things that I do and here are the records that I do keep. I do have a daily planner where I keep kind of like what we're doing daily. I think this is the way that a lot of homeschoolers handle records. They use a planner of some kind and mark down what lessons were taught, what they did that day, what kind of activities, classes, socialization, those kinds of things. They mark those down into some kind of planner. So I use, obviously, the Essential Homeschool Planner. That's what I use when it comes to my record planning. This is empty right now because this is the brand new Essential Homeschool Planner that is coming out today. So this is what I use. And basically you can either, like you can plan your months, you can track how many days you're doing your homeschooling if you need to do that. Otherwise, I just use it as a calendar when it comes to my monthly spreads. And then when it comes to like the weekly spreads, this is where I put in what lessons we did, what subjects we covered, what pages we did in their workbooks. That's where I put all that information here. So I am a plan forward kind of person. So I sit down and plan out kind of what we're going to handle in a month and do that at like 1 month at a time. I know some people who do plan from behind, which is also very interesting, where they basically at the end of the week go back and write into their planner what they did that week. So if they didn't get to something, they don't have to erase things or whatever. They just kind of plan, like I said, from behind. So on Saturday, maybe they go back and they add in, okay, on Monday, we did math, we did language, and we did science. This is what we did. On Tuesday, we went to this like class and then we had this lesson in the afternoon. On Wednesday, we did our tea time and we did this. We also did math and science again, and they do that at the end of the week. So that's called planning from behind. But I know a lot of people who use their planner as a way of keeping track of what's happening day to day. And for a lot of places, this is a really great record keeping tool for you. So yeah, if you're interested, this is one of 4 beautiful covers that are available as a printed book. There's 4, these are dated. If you want an undated planner, which is something brand new this year, there are 2 undated planners as well. And there's also going to be PDFs if you prefer to download instead of buying them off of Amazon. I will put a link for those, all that, Amazon links, downloadable links, all that down below. So some people do prefer to just use a planner and plan from behind or plan forward. I like having a planner and I keep my planners because I'm a bit of a planner addict and I kind of hoard them a little bit. But it's also, if anything ever came up, which if you're living in Ontario, chances are it won't unless there's CAS issues or like child abuse allegations or something like that. But if anything ever did come up, I have records that we did do classes, we did do lessons, all that kind of stuff. They're in my book. So this is my guide. And also the nice thing about this planner is I can also keep like where I planned out all my unit studies, where I planned all my year, my long-term planning, all of that can also be done in the planner. So it's kind of my one-stop shop for all of like my planning resources. Kind of keeping everything together is in my planner. That is why I like having a planner. I think it's a really good tool for a lot of families. Like I said, it becomes a really great record for a lot of families. So other things that I keep lists or records of, these ones I usually do digitally because I only update them like once a year, and I kind of like to have a running list. So I have on my laptop, I have a list of curriculum. So I have Alexi and I have Zoe. And basically underneath them, it says what curriculum I have purchased that year and what we did with it. For example, under math, it has this year Alexi did math lessons for living education, level 3. And then it'll have that I did chalkboard phonics, chalkboard daily language skills, and chalkboard spelling. That would be under like Alexi's, that's what I purchased for her. Those are like the set things that we did with that curriculum. And under Zoe, it would have the same thing, but just like what she did. So she had like a daily printing. She had a math lessons for living education level 1. It has a list. And the reason I like having kind of a curriculum list, I can look back when I'm doing Zoe and say, okay, this is what I got for Alexi. It worked. That's what I want to use. I can order it again, or I can think back and be like, hey, that didn't work. If something's not really working, I will go back and mark that it didn't work. So it gives me a little bit of ability to keep track of A, what we used, but B, I can also go back and see what it is without having to remember all that. I keep a list of what curriculums we've used and kind of like what subject or what topic they touched on. It just really helps me going forward. Another list that I keep is a list of themes. This is just like a running list. It just has the year and then what 8 to 10 themes we did that year. This is really helpful because it's May now. I have a hard time remembering what we did in like September and October of this year. So to be like, oh, did we cover this topic? Have we done this before? And thinking back like a year or two, sometimes I just don't remember. So I just have a list of like what theme or what topic or unit study that we did. And it just really helps me just remember what we did. It's also great for like realizing if there's like a pattern. So for example, my kids are like really into plants and learning about plants. And I've noticed that they've asked to learn about plants like 2 or 3 years in a row. I think it's 3 times in the last 4 years they've asked to learn about plants, which is a lot of like very similar topics. So it kind of gives me the ability to be like, hey, we've done that for a little bit. Maybe we can do it again in a couple of years, but let's pick something else. So because I have that ability to look back and remember, I'm not doing the same thing again and again because moms are tired. Let's be real. I'm tired. I have a hard time remembering what happened on last weekend, let alone what happened 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 months ago, right? So that's one of the reasons why I always have a theme list. I also have on my theme list certain topics that I want to hit in certain years. So for example, last year we did human bodies. Was it last year or the year before? Anyway, I'll find it. One year we did human bodies. My kids loved it. It was great. I would like to do human bodies again in a couple of years and go a little bit more in depth, but also then like add in some topics like puberty, right? And just make it into like a very natural, very cohesive unit. So I can actually kind of like skip through. I have a couple of years and just like add in like, hey, I'd like to do this topic this year. Obviously I can like erase it and add it a year earlier, a year later, whatever I feel like. But it kind of just keeps that in mind that like this might be a really good time frame of when to hit a topic, especially if there's something kind of time sensitive. Another thing that I've done is sometimes like for our social studies, I've kind of taken a topic and broken it down over a couple of years. So like this year we did Canadian geography. Next year we're going to do Indigenous people. And I'm going to talk about like pre-contact Indigenous people. So where they live in Canada. So that's why I'm like, if I want to do that, I need to know what the geography of Canada is. So I kind of have those back to back in my list of themes so that I can like remember to do it like that. So I have like broken down this bigger topic into kind of smaller sections, and I find that helps me a little bit as well. So I always keep a list of like themes and topics, whatever we are going to cover in depth that year. And it also gives me the ability to see like, oh yeah, we did a lot of science or not a lot of social studies or vice versa. So it kind of lets me balance things out a little bit too. And the last list is kind of a thing that I just keep on my phone, in my like notes section of my iPhone. I just keep a list of like future ideas and topics. So if I see someone on Instagram that's doing something really cool or they have a really cool topic, I was like, hey, that would be awesome. And I'll just like write a little note of like what the topic is. Or if they have like a really awesome book recommendation and they've like used that to build a unit study, put that in there. This helps me when it comes time to pick what themes and what things we're going to do next year. And it's kind of really nice because it gives the kids ideas to spring off of if they don't have any. I just find it's really helpful to have a couple ideas, especially if there's something I think the kids are really going to enjoy when they're a little bit older, or if I think it's really cool. Do we have to do them? No. But does it give me something to spring off of if we're stuck for a unit study idea? Yes. It gives me a little place to like keep a little note. And sometimes it's like exciting to be like, oh, we're going to do that in a couple years. The other thing that sometimes happens is, especially since we're in a co-op where they have kids who are slightly older than them, they will like talk about a book or talk about something and like, that's probably not at your level. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not age appropriate for you yet. But we can definitely put that on the list and we can bring it up in a year or two, right? We can come back to it. So it's really helpful in that way, especially if they have an idea, but they're just not ready mentally or emotionally to handle that topic. We can put it on the list and revisit it in a couple of years. So those are basically the lists that I have and the records that I keep. Like I said, other than my planner, I keep mine digitally, either like a Word document on my laptop or like a notes document on my phone. And yeah, it really helps me stay focused. It helps me stay on track. And I then also get to remember all the things that we did do because we do a lot in a year. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure that you subscribe and then click the bell to get notifications so you can find out more about when I put out awesome videos like this. And make sure you're following me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where you might even find some special promo codes for the planners. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.